So what PWT did was came in and said, hey, you know what? We need a week just like everybody else. And we're not going to say Doctor's Day. We're going to say Physicians Week so we can make it clear, your MDs, your DOs. And this is a week that we can actually bridge the gap between what the perception of what you think a physician is and what the reality is. And the fact that we care about you and we work hard and we love you and we go to bat for you. But we also want you to realize we appreciate respect and just being appreciated.
Paging Dr. Cook. Paging Dr. Cook. Dr. Cook, you're wanted in the OR. Dr. Cook, you're wanted in the OR.
Welcome to the Prescription for Success podcast with your host, Dr. Randy Cook.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Prescription for Success podcast. Before we get into today's interview, I want to remind everyone that our podcast is a production of MD Coaches, a company dedicated to developing and empowering physicians and other healthcare professionals to realize a greater potential and to achieve a greater level of satisfaction in their chosen fields. You'll find MD Coaches on the web at mymdcoaches.com. And before we get into our interview today, I've got a quick message for you about MR Insurance, a small business that helps all physicians with disability insurance needs. Michael L. Relvis is a CFP professional and insurance agent. He's committed to helping physicians nationwide with their term life and disability insurance needs. He is completely objective and transparent, and he provides an education-focused process specifically designed to help physicians make prudent decisions and avoid overcomplicating things. He exclusively offers own occupation disability insurance policies for residents, fellows, and attending physicians. You can trust Michael. We know he's got your best interest at heart when it comes to disability insurance. He'd be happy to help you with whatever your needs might be. So connect with Michael at drpodcastnetwork.com/MR Insurance or by phone at 800-817-4522. Well, my guest today is a busy family medicine specialist in Phoenix City, Alabama, but she's also passionately involved in a number of other projects as well. These are projects designed to promote the interests of all physicians, regardless of specialty. So, now let's hear my conversation with Dr. Kimberly Jackson. Well, it's my pleasure today to be having a conversation with Dr. Kimberly Jackson, an internist over in Phoenix City, Alabama. Kim, it's really great to have you on the show. Thank you for being with us today.
You're very welcome, Randy. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm really looking forward to talking with you about a lot of things, but on Prescription for Success, we really like to know how you got started. So can you tell us to begin with where your interest in being a physician came from? Were there medical people in your family or influencers elsewhere? What's the story on that?
My interest in becoming a physician or in medicine was due to, one, my mom was an educator, and so I always believed in educating persons. And when I was in high school, I had the opportunity to shadow an emergency medicine physician and found out that I loved the body. And one of the things that I was saying I was going to do at first was be a nurse, and a minister told me, well, why stop being a nurse? Stop at being a nurse. Why don't you consider being a doctor? And that was my first idea that I wanted to be a physician. And so I looked into that, got into college, Wingcare University now, and went on to medical school.
So it started, you were kind of a science nerd, it sounds like, when you were younger. Is that right?
Yes, I actually loved where the human body comes together and how it works and how it can rejuvenate. And
how old were you when you began to figure that out?
I was a teenager, so it was close to still finishing high school, probably about 15 or 16. So, because before then, I'd always said I was going to be a teacher, like my mom, and then for a while a nurse, and then when I was in high school,
And this conversation with your pastor, was that something that you initiated or he initiated, or how did you all come to be talking about your future?
From my recollection, it was something he initiated because he was always encouraging the youth of the church, to go far, continue, get our higher education. And so he was just like, hey, young lady, what do you want to be? And I was like, I'm thinking about being a nurse. And of course, no offense to nurses. But his point was, well, why stop there? Have you ever thought about being a doctor? And I just really had never thought about it. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I consider being a doctor? And yeah.
That was a really pivotal point in your life, it sounds like to me. And
absolutely
he was
was.
a pivotal influence.
Very true.
Had it not been for that, I'm sure you would have been an absolutely superb nurse. But you have certainly shown what you can do as a physician as well. So
Very true.
lucky for you.
I could say, yeah,
that he was
by
there for
intervention.
you and that he stepped in for you. With that in mind, when you began to start making preparations to go to medical school, obviously the next step after you got out of high school was your undergraduate education. Tell us about that. Where'd you go to college?
Yeah, so I went to William Carey College, which is now William Carey University. It's a private Baptist school. One of the major reasons that I went to the school was I got a full scholarship, so that was always a great, blessing. And it was close to home. My parents really didn't want me to go far. So I grew up in a little town called Bass, Mississippi. And so Hattiesburg is about 30, 45 minutes, I'd say, west. And so with the full scholarship, going to William Carey, and I had a wonderful time there. Still have lifelong friends that I've met there.
Full-time scholarship. And is that something that you had because for your academic excellence, or is there some story behind that?
Yes, it was for my academic excellence. Was an honor student, finished as salutatorian in my class, and had other extracurricular activities that I had participated in. And I ended up getting, funny enough, a chorale scholarship. I also auditioned for the school choir, and that's when I discovered.
Because you're a singer. How fabulous.
Right, exactly. So, audition.
There's no end to your talent.
Well, thank you.
So there you are. Plans are to be a physician, to go to medical school. What was undergraduate school like? Did you find it a shock compared to what you faced in high school, or was it all pretty easy? What can you tell us about that?
So undergraduate school was, in a sense, a shock. Not as much of a shock that medical school was, but part of it was growing up in a small town and also in a very conservative family. My parents, my dad was a Baptist minister. My mom was an educator. Like I said, we grew up on a farm. We had several children. So going to college was like a whole new world. And even though as a Christian college, we still had, chapel and things we had to attend and certain dress codes, it still was a whole exposure to the real world in a sense. So it was interesting, but I had a great time.
Yeah, that is kind of fascinating how even in a parochial type setting, it's young people, and they will be young people, right?
Very true, very true.
You can be tempted in all kinds of ways.
Very much so.
But you remain straight as an arrow, it sounds like.
Yeah, for the most part. My parents may hear this interview one day, so that's where we're just going to leave it at. It was just straight arrow all the way through.
But seriously, the academic challenge sounds like you recognized it to be more challenging than what you had faced in high school, but not really insurmountable. Is that what I'm hearing?
So more so in medical school, I was summa cum laude for college. So college really wasn't per se that much of a challenge. I actually clept out of some courses, so I didn't have to take all the prerequisites. I wish I would have known about that and clept out of more of them. So I ended up, in that case, being a part of a honor society, a lot of different groups, and also because I finished in the top of my class as far as that goes too, as far as college.
So the next transition then, was it more of a shock when you got into medical school? What was the feeling like when you got there? Did you think, well, gee, I'm really in the right place now? Or was it more like, am I really going to be able to manage this? What was your state of mind as a freshman in medical school? And also you're up there in the big city now, right? You're in Jackson.
Exactly. So I went from small town to bigger town to, I'm in the capital. So that was a huge transition. And also I was a little farther away from home because for a while when I was in college, my mom and dad, I went to church with them. So I would see them at least once or twice a week. until I started attending another church. And then when I went to Jackson, that was done because, there was a few hours difference. I wasn't driving up that much. And then plus medical school is a lot different than college as far as the requirement for work. So I had to more so develop a study system because I was used to just kind of sometimes photographic memory, see things, learn it, boom. Well, it was a lot of information that was going on. I was dealing with being homesick. And then I also ended up in the middle of the first or second year or so losing my brother. My younger brother. So,
oh my goodness, that must have been that must have been a real challenge.
It was. It really, really was. So I actually had to. I ended up taking a break, like a year break or so. I think I went 2 years from med school. Came back and finished. I did some counseling, and I felt like it was a place I wanted to be. I really love medicine. I love the body. Gross anatomy was gross, but it was also fantastic. I would literally dream about arteries and veins. I remember seeing the highways and thinking, look at how these highways and byways doing it. They're just like arteries and veins. So it was just, it was phenomenal.
And that transition between your basic science years and the clinical years, did you find that difficult or challenging in any way? Or again, was it more like, now this is where I belong and it came easier to you or not?
Yeah. So great questions. For me, I felt like the clinical years by far were much better than the basic years. The sitting down in the classroom and just trying to pay attention hours on end. Going back to I was a person that kind of read it, looked at it, it was done. So just to try to sit in lectures over and over, my mind would wonder, and I'm like, oh goodness, what are we eating? Can we sleep? What are they talking about? Versus when I was on the clinical rounds, I was dealing with people, so I soaked up their life stories, and I wanted to learn how to make them better and all of that. So I felt like the transition was definitely a positive one. It just confirmed that I was in the right place.
Yeah, you're getting a little bit more immediate feedback on why you're actually there, I think, wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so at what point while you were in medical school did you start thinking about what you were going to do after, what your residency training was going to be?
Absolutely. So of course they start, even when you first get there, people are asking you, well, what kind of doctor you want to be? And honestly, most, freshmen, first year, second years, we don't really know. We think we do. And then we start doing the rotations because at first it's like, oh, maybe I'll be a pediatrician, love kids. And then I was like, you know what? Half the kids can't talk to you. The parents sometimes don't listen. I don't know. Maybe I need to see some adults as well. And then it was like, well, do you want to be internal medicine, geriatrics? Do you want, well, no, I don't want to only just deal with older people. So I settled on family medicine because it gave me a combination of doing both, where I could take care of children and their parents. And you can also dabble in a lot of different things. Family medicine allows you, in some cases, specialize in, certain things that you may have an interest in, like in our clinic, weight management. So fell in love with that, did my rotations and matched at a unopposed family medicine program.
So once you were done with all that and a newly minted physician, did you have to make any difficult decisions about where you were going to practice and what your practice situation was going to look like?
I wouldn't say difficult decisions. In the time frame I was in medical school, met the partner of my clinic. So he was a soldier and was stationed at Fort Benning. And so the decision was, hey, we're going to get married and be together. There's a unopposed family medicine program in Columbus, Georgia, and I'm stationed at Fort Benning in Columbus, Georgia. So that was...
Well, that's pretty convenient.
Yeah, exactly. So that ended up working out well.
So you met him while you were in residency or while you were still in medical school?
I met him while I was in medical school. Yeah, like the latter part of medical school. And then he was doing ROTC at Jackson State University, historically Black college in Jackson, Mississippi. And I was finishing up medical school and then ended up matching in Columbus, Georgia Family Medicine program.
And did I understand you to say he is a physician as well?
No, he's a soldier.
Oh, okay.
But he is the practice administrator. I'm the medical director and he's the practice administrator, yes.
Yeah, and still on active duty?
No, he retired a few years back. So
I see. But you all were able to stay in the Fort Benning area.
Correct. Because we decided we decided after I finished residency that for a while I worked with a doctor's office. First of all, I worked with an urgent care clinic, and then after that, I worked in another doctor's office, and then we decided to open up our own practice.
Well, you did one other thing that I think is really interesting, and I want to know some more about this. Mm-hmm. You got involved in the boxing world.
Yeah.
So what's that story?
I know, and it's a really cool story in the sense of there was a mentor position for myself that had said that they were looking for some doctors to be ringside physicians for amateur boxing. Of course, growing up the way I did, I wasn't even really exposed to boxing. And I was like, well, it sounds cool. They said they give you a little stipend, but it also was, I was really drawn to it because it was a way that the community was helping the young men stay out of trouble. So they would take these, take the young men and basically, hey, are you interested in boxing? And they would be, amateur boxing. So they wouldn't be heavyweights or anything like that. But in order for them to be able to box, they had to be cleared in a sense, quote unquote. So had to check their blood pressure, had to do an exam, and also had to be available in case someone got, say, hit in the head to determine, you think it's a concussion, can they still play if they get cut or any of those things. So funny enough, I didn't realize it till I went to talk to them and apply, I guess, for the position, that I was the first female physician that it did that. And at first they were concerned that with a side of blood or being hit or something, would I be, able to take it? So,
oh my goodness.
Yes, it's to me, it's funny now because, you learn, when you learn better, you do better. So they didn't let it stop.
Did they think you made it through medical school without seeing any blood?
You know what, Randy? Sometimes I think about that now and I actually don't know what they thought. But you know what? You don't know what you don't know, because a lot of patients don't really know what we do and what we had to go through. So they learned that, yes, this lady who, had a child herself already, definitely could handle, any minor blood or accidents. But that's what it was. And it was a cool thing to do. And I did it for a little while and then passed it on to some other colleagues.
That's a very interesting story. I really like the part about how they challenged you about whether you really want to do this.
Right, exactly. Like, don't y'all need the help? Like, yeah.
Just goes to show you that there is a little prejudice lurking everywhere.
It is.
But you showed them, didn't you?
I did. And it's,
of course you did.
Not the first time that's happened. So it's all good.
Well, tell me a little bit more about the current practice. Is it just you alone? Do you have partners? And what style of practice do you have?
Awesome. So the practice is a family medicine clinic. We do all the way from newborns to our oldest now, I think it's like 107. So everything in between.
Wow.
Yes. We have 2 nurse practitioners that are working with us, MAs, nurses. We do in-office procedures, minor procedures, whether it's, wart removals or inserting of Nexplanon, some ultrasounds and things like that. So I love it. Pretty much outpatient only. I gave up hospital medicine a few years into the practice to be able to have a better work-life balance. And we've been doing this now going on, I want to say 13 years or so, 13, 14 years, and have grown tremendously and are super excited. We go out in the community, we do health fairs. So it's really cool that we're able to do that for our community.
Sounds like it might work out for you.
Yeah, we hope so. Pray so. The pandemic has been a challenge for sure.
I bet it has.
God is good. We're still here.
And I know the Phoenix City area is fortunate to have you. There is by no means an abundance of physicians anywhere in Alabama, and to have people as competent as yourself is certainly a blessing. So good for them that you decided to stay in the area.
This is true, and they do tell me that.
Remember medical school? You were confident, studious, hardworking, and you learned what to expect in all manner of patient care. Then reality struck. Regulations, expenses, staff management, and administration. Is this what we signed up for? Stress on the verge of burnout, no time for family, or the reason we got into medicine. Helping people. What are the options when you're afraid you're in the wrong career? Transition, teach, quit? What if there was another way? MD Coaches can help. We're a team of medical professionals with a century of experience in the clinical and business sides of medicine. More importantly, MD Coaches has been where you are, stressed and trying to navigate a world school didn't prepare us for. MD Coaches is your mentor, your confidant, to help you make your practice shine, navigate administrations, and successfully lead staff and projects. Or if you're ready to transition, we can help there too. MD Coaches is doctors helping doctors. Visit our website to receive a free, no-obligation consultation. Go to mymdcoaches.com/RX. That's mymdcoaches.com/RX. Isn't it time someone else was on your side? Don't let the business of being a doctor stop you from doing what you love. That site again, mymdcoaches.com/RX. Visit us today.
Physician Outlook is a new magazine platform built for physicians and by physicians, and it's designed to showcase unique physician talents. Sometimes it might be clinical talents, but mostly it's about the intersection between clinical and non-clinical talents, whether it be writing or painting or cooking, or maybe even making a political statement in front of a state and local governing body, or even at the nation's capital, and dozens of other things. It's available online and in print. It's visually stunning on all of its platforms. I promise it's really unique in terms of physician lifestyle magazines. I think you'll really enjoy it. We think it's just the thing to fill your prescription for success. And like the Prescription for Success podcast, Physician Outlook magazine amplifies the voice of any doctor who has something to say, and also uniquely engages patients who still believe in physician-led, team-based care. And Prescription for Success listeners can get $20 off an annual subscription fee by visiting rxforsuccesspodcast.com/Physician Outlook. So you do some other things besides strictly clinical things, and I really am looking forward to hearing the story behind this and the story about what you do. But you were instrumental in the organization of an organization
Right.
called Physicians Working Together. Why don't you just go ahead and tell us the story? How did it get started, and what do you all do?
Awesome. So, physicians working together is exactly what the name exemplifies. Physicians working together with each other, with our communities, with medical students, with legislators. And the way it got started was a patient came to my office and stated, due to her insurance changing her plan, she would not be able to afford seeing me anymore because it's going to be $300 to $400 or something because we were out of network. And they wanted her to see a retail clinic that didn't have a physician on site. So as a physician, I am sometimes aware of, the insurance changing and thinking, things happen. But what threw me off was the whole, you got to go to this retail clinic and there's no physician on site. Like, how can they tell you to go, like what I considered almost like an urgent care? So I called several places, talked to the head people there, then started calling local physicians, and then realized quickly it was not efficient to try to have a meeting on Saturday, meet with 2 or 3 docs one Saturday, 2 or 3 docs the next Saturday. And I was like, hey, we got to do this a better way. Someone had the idea of what about using social media? I was like, I'm not really big on that, but let's see. And started a Facebook group. So we went from 3 to about 9,000 members all over the world, different countries. And we're super excited about connecting.
So the whole thing started as a Facebook group. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, it started as a Facebook group. And we've expanded.
Wow.
Yeah, we have websites, and now we're a nonprofit. And we also have a medical student scholarship now we do annually. And we just engage with the communities, the public, our legislators, with other doctors. The main thing is letting doctors know they're not alone, and we want them to be heard.
I'm just going to ask you a question right out here in the open that might be a little inflammatory. So you established an organization called Physicians Working Together. Why wouldn't the American Medical Association be serving that purpose?
Oh, that is an excellent question. And it's not inflammatory. We actually sat down with the AMA president at that certain time, it was a few years back. And he wanted to talk with us and several other grassroots groups to kind of say, hey, you know what, we may be dividing our efforts. You guys are focusing on certain things that we kind of do, or we just don't feel as important. And some of those were like mid-level expansion, like nurse practitioners, PAs, trying to work without physician supervision. Some of it was dealing with, physicians burnout, and some people said in quotation marks, physician suicide, and all those kind of things. And what we were telling them was we felt like with the AMA, some of it was our like membership or our, group efforts were taken for granted. And we felt like some of the issues that physicians that were on the ground weren't being heard. And we felt like it needed to be a better representation of physicians to the public. And we need to be able to say to them, hey, we're human too. And we, deserve to be treated with respect. We've lost a lot of respect for our profession. And persons don't understand what we have to deal with when we're trying to take care of you. And we want to meet you at the table. So we have to know what you have to deal with and understand that we're not the enemy. And one of the funny things that was said in this meeting, a couple of things were said, a little insulting, like you guys are a little dingy, we're the main boat, and blah blah blah. But they did own up to a couple of things, and part of that was one of the missions that we have at PWT, and that is to challenge this perception in the community. Physicians are all about money, and they're not really caring about the actual patients with the reality of what we go through. And so, no, it's not complaining, but it is educating you that, yes, we have to eat and poop and take time to ourselves. We miss our family. We have to make sure that we balance work and life so we can give you our best. Sometimes healers need healing too. Sometimes there are unfortunately physicians that take their lives. And they were able to admit that in some ways, that may be some of those battles we're better able to do than they are, because when they go to Congress, it sometimes has to be about, well, this is how we're going to compromise with the public. This is how we're going to compromise with, the powers that be. And we can be more like, hey, we need to be heard. So that was one of the reasons I think that we were successful.
So it sounds like the relationship with the AMA is actually fairly cordial. You all don't really have any big differences of opinion?
Well, all of our members would not say that. I think that some of the things that have occurred, and I definitely don't want to speak for the AMA as well, because they may hit our guts for all I know.
Well, sure, all your members might not agree, but at least now they have a forum where they can speak out and at least have the feeling that they're going to be heard.
Correct. Absolutely. That part I can agree with.
But nonetheless, you feel like the relationship that PWT has with the AMA is actually pretty good, pretty solid?
Well, I don't even know if I want to use the word relationship. The conversation that they agreed to have with us was basically more of a kind of, the impression we got was a kind of, maybe we were wanting to collaborate and connect. And it was kind of like, wait, well, maybe we can put this out and not have to worry so much about what these grassroots groups are doing. I would have to probably revisit with the present leadership to kind of see where they stand on everything. We didn't leave with a bad sense of like enemies, but we didn't leave also with the idea of, we're totally cohorts and collaborating. I do feel like there are a lot of areas that we work together on, and we see that they have come around to even some of the things are like, physicians leading in the reform for certain things, and women's history, medical history, and different things, even with race disparities and racism in medicine, that they are definitely, I'm not going to say stepping up to the plate, but definitely are sharing information and doing things that we're proud of. And we just think we all can work together to be better.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and fan the flames just one more time and tell you that this sounds to me like that their initial impression was, sure, you guys go ahead and do what you want to do, but they didn't really think that you were going to have much of an impact, and yet you really have had a good bit of an impact.
And that part, my friend, you are correct. Because, even with just the fact of us being able to start a national holiday that is something that is now being celebrated worldwide, the fact that we had for so long just Doctor's Day one day, March 30th, and at this point it is so diluted that eating better was getting celebrated on that day. You still had, say, Nurse Practitioner Week, PA Week, you may have had, who knows, Cat Month or whatever, but now you had Doctor's Day that the hospitals felt like they were afraid to just celebrate doctors. So what PWT did was came in and said, hey, you know what? We need a week just like everybody else. And we're not going to say Doctor's Day. We're going to say Physicians Week so we can make it clear, your MDs, your DOs. And this is a week that we can actually bridge the gap between what the perception of what you think a physician is and what the reality is. And the fact that we care about you and we work hard and we love you. We go to bat for you, but we also want you to realize we appreciate respect and just being appreciated. And so I don't think that the AMA anticipated that. And I think that just overall, people were just this little small group, don't know what they're doing, but we actually have made a huge impact. And even today, been blessed to talk to senators and representatives and patients and communities. We got off a call today with the COO of Facebook herself, Sheryl Sandberg, and just talking about the importance of, celebrating physicians, and how National Physicians Week, where we starting tomorrow, is now an annual celebration, and it's spreading. So that's the impact we've had.
Yeah, and I want to mention just to make sure listeners of our podcast understand where we are. We are having this conversation in March of 2021, and indeed, the week starts this week, and we expect to have this episode available for everybody to hear on the first Monday. in Doctors Week. So we'll be helping you spread the news, we hope.
Yes,
And I
awesome.
appreciate your segue into that. I'm really fascinated with the story. I think your pastor, if he's still around, must be very proud, and if he's looking down from elsewhere, he would be proud of what you've done. And he clearly picked a good person to become an exemplary physician, because you have certainly done that. But we are at the part of the program that gives us our name, Kim. So we want to hear your prescriptions for success. That means I'm going to close my mic and we will all listen very quietly while Dr. Kimberly Jackson from Phoenix City, Alabama, gives us her personal prescriptions for success.
Thank you, Randy. Wow, when you think about what's your personal prescription for success, there's a lot of things that come to mind, but I felt like it was maybe a few areas that stuck out most importantly that I feel like can be helpful for others that have really helped me. One of the first things I felt like people should realize, or you think about a prescription, is you should be kind to yourself and be kind to others. You need to make sure that you're humble, that realize that you can learn from others and that you're not your mistakes. So how we learn things is we try, and if we fail, we try again. But just realize you're not mistakes. So if those things happen, don't beat yourself up. Make sure you take time for yourself and your family. That's one of the ways you're kind to yourself, because these are the people that are important. A lot of things are going to pass away, but the memories that you make for others are going to be the things that stick with them for their lives. You need to enjoy your life. And I tell people, not just like the big things, like, oh, you had like a huge party, or you got, something that you felt was so memorable, but it could be something as simple as just getting the right park, or getting a smile from your child, or being able to make a stranger smile. Those things where you're actually just being thankful that you're alive and that you're around. One of the philosophies I have is that I'm blessed to be a blessing. And part of that is realizing that I enjoy all the moments that I'm giving. I think of the silver linings, even with this horrible year that we've had with the COVID pandemic, but people have been able to reunite with loved ones. They've been able to spend more time with people, gardening, being out in the open. So all those things where you just take the time to enjoy life. You need to know what your philosophy is, and what is success to you. Is success financial success? Is it spiritual success? Is it health? Is it happiness? Is it peace? And for me, it's all of those, to make sure that you have this balance so you're able to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. If you're always giving, but never taking the time to fill yourself up, at some point you are going to burn out, or you're not going to be able to help others. Enjoying your life, being kind to yourself, determine your philosophy, and enjoy, and realize that you need to try things that are new. Have some type of, for me, a thing that's a prescription for success is a higher power. I do believe in God and spirituality. Don't be afraid to start over. Have some stress relievers. One of the things I like to do: sing, dance, laugh, and be willing to laugh at yourself. Surround yourself with positive people, because you are an average of the 5 people that you keep around you. So you want to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with positive people that not, I can do bad by myself, but I can do great by myself. And I want people that can help me do even greater. I'm just super excited about this opportunity to share things that have helped me become the person that I am. I'm continuing to grow. I stay humble. I have an attitude of gratitude, which I think is another prescription for success. And I thank you all, Randy, for allowing me to have this opportunity. I would like to add that one of the things I think a part of my philosophy of blessed to be a blessing is one of the reasons we do have like our medical student scholarship and the other things that we do. And I invite and encourage people to check out PWT, support us in that, and then donate. We are a nonprofit. So thank you.
Kim, thank you very much for sharing that with us. We are grateful that you take the time. You clearly are a busy person, and I'm sure you could have found other things to do with this time, but yet you shared it with us, and we appreciate it. Before we go, I want to give you an opportunity to share some things about you that people are going to want to know, like how to get in touch with you, where to find you, anything that you want to publicize, Facebook groups, where to find more information about PWT, Physicians Week, and all of those things. Please go ahead and tell us now.
Awesome. So we have 2 websites, thepwt.org, so www.thepwt.org. And then we have besttogether.org, which is www.best.gether.org. And then on Facebook, we have Physicians Working Together Facebook group, which is for physicians, medical students. And then also we have a Physicians Working Together community page and a National Physicians Week page. So you can check those out, follow us. We have Twitter and Instagram, and I'll be glad to get our director of communications to get that to you, Randy, as far as all of those links. but they're also similarly physicians working together, PHYWKTGR, working together for the Twitter. And follow us, like us, share us. The more the merrier. We're just excited about growth, and we're excited about where we come in this 5 to 6 years and where the future is going to take us.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I hope you get a lot more followers on PWT, because it's a great organization, and stronger together. We want everybody to join that possibly can.
Absolutely.
Thank you again, Dr. Kimberly Jackson from Phoenix City, Alabama. It's been a great pleasure having you on Prescription for Success.
Awesome. My pleasure to be here. Thank you, Randy and team.
Well, I hope you enjoyed my conversation today with Dr. Kimberly Jackson as much as I did. But before we go, please remember to reach out to MR Insurance Consultants, where their goal is to assist all physicians in obtaining the most comprehensive coverage available to fit their unique situation. Reach out for both excellent and quality service at drpodcastnetwork.com/MR Insurance. And that's all we have for today on Prescription for Success. We hope you'll become a subscriber and get more information about our guests by reviewing the show notes on our website at rxforsuccesspodcast.com. Also, please consider leaving us a comment and a 5-star rating. We'd be so grateful if you would. And finally, think about supporting the show by becoming a patron. All you have to do is visit patreon.com/RX for Success podcast. Thank you so very much for listening today, and don't forget to fill your prescription for success with my next episode.